It seems like you folks have ice in your veins and snow in your stories. Plenty of wintry, wonderful love for our last Winter SCP video, so why not go for a part 2? Because what's scarier than getting caught in a snowstorm and then there also being an anomalous monster there, right? Let's get going on our top 5 Winter SCP Monsters part 2. Coming in at number 5, we've got SCP-1529, the King of the Mountain. We talked about a mountain being mostly human beings last time, so why not talk about something that may actually add bodies to that mountain? It's actually still Mount Everest, but seeing as there's no true SCP canon, you'll have to decide which one works better. Or they can be copacetic and share the mountain. It would make sense that this monster was adding bodies to the big pile. Who knows? 1529 is a humanoid individual living atop Mount Everest. You know, past the 8,000 meter death zone where human acclimatization is believed to be impossible. Nice. What does this freezing cold and possibly high up human do? Well, it usually tends to climb about the peak and generally be elusive. See, it looks like it's wearing all sorts of warm, cozy winter gear, but nobody knows whether that's part of its body or something that it is like put on and worn. This lack of knowledge about it is mostly due to the fact that nobody's really seen it up close and lived to tell the tale. Some folks claim that they've seen it via telescope or that someone managed to snap a picture of it, but none of these tales have been backed up by proof. If you're a person who thinks you've got a chance at making it to the top of Everest, maybe rethink your plans. People that make it past the 8,000 meter mark will likely find themselves staring down 1529, and if you do make eye contact with it, you will fall into a hypnotic trance of sorts. Bad news when you're climbing dangerous mountains, don't you think? So while under the influence of 1529's hypnotic effects, people tend to feel pretty warm, cozy, and safe, and decide that it's a good idea to take a seat, relax, take a load off, hang your hat, which invariably leads them to succumbing to hypothermia and dying. Oh boy. According to one person who has managed to get away from the thing, miraculous I know, you'll see lots of pleasant images featuring other climbers that didn't make it and really feel like taking your mountain gear off and pretending you're on a beautiful sunny beach. No pina coladas though. But that's how it gets you to stay, forever. Coming in at number 4, we've got SCP-880. I always knew Quebec was bad news. That's mostly informed by my experiences in Hull as a young adult, but hey, when a made-up danger presents itself, it's nice to feel vindicated in your ill-prepared beliefs. This SCP is a town in Quebec that exhibits all sorts of anomalous characteristics. First off, the town always seems to be experiencing an insane blizzard. Like anywhere between 20 and 24 hours of the day, you can expect some very heavy snowfall. The thing is, the snow isn't actually falling. The amount of snow within the boundaries of 880 stays the same at all times, with powerful winds creating near constant snow squalls that give the illusion of a blizzard. So that's weird, there's no new snow added, it's just always moving. Weirder yet is the fact that the snow never seems to pile up anywhere, and it's never been measured at a depth greater than 16 centimeters. And to top it all off, anyone and anything that has entered 880 during a snowstorm has been lost forever, a victim to the snow, never to return. As far as anyone can tell, nobody lives in this town, which is odd, especially considering that every structure seems to be in consistent full repair. So who's keeping these buildings from falling apart? Plus, any items pulled from the area tend to be a lot warmer than the cold air around them, and usually lack any signs of microorganisms. That means that fires are constantly glowing with embers, and food that's left out doesn't seem to go bad. It's hard to explain what's going on here, but for now it seems like a place that is trapped a bit of winter within a interesting boundary. Coming in at number 3, we've got SCP-649. And speaking of stuff full of winter, ever heard of a matchbox that causes snow? No? Well, me neither, until I found out about SCP-649. At first glance, this rectangular prism made out of cardboard appears to be an average matchbox. 32 little pieces of wood inside, each with a very flammable tip. Although most matches tend to be red, these guys are blue. If all you were to do was to look at SCP-649, nothing exceptional would happen. The anomalies begin when you crack that sucker open. If the box is open and is left open, winter will be coming. Give it 15 minutes or so and watch the winter wonderland come right to you. After that period of time, strange, chilly stuff will start happening. The area in which the matchbox is situated will experience rapidly dropping temperatures and super strong gusts of wind. All of this is true even if the matchbox is situated indoors. This effect will continue until the area reaches temperatures of around -30 degrees Celsius and snowfall hits around 3 meters deep. At that point, the radius in which the effects persist will increase. Slowly and steadily, the snow and cold will spread, taking over all sorts of new ground with crystalline glory. Not exactly what most folks are looking for from a matchbox. It seems that the only way to stop the chill from spreading further is to shut it. Otherwise, it'll keep going, freezing its way across the world. Holy smokes. Now, on one occasion, the Foundation performed extensive testing on the matchbox. They left the box open for close to 2 hours. During this time, the laughter of children could be heard, and some of the D-Class personnel were actually spotted being brought through the walls of a test chamber by small humanoid figures. It turns out that these little kids were leading away the D-Class who had children that died before adolescence, and they weren't seen again. Coming in at number 2, we've got SCP-722. You like snakes? What about giant ones trapped in ice? Pretty wicked, right? Well, you might find this one a little less cool once you find out what happens to people who behold it in person. Okay, let me start from the top here. Years back, some Greenpeace environmentalists came across a very peculiar glacier while making a documentary about the climate change in Greenland. There was a complex series of tunnels running throughout the massive ice and snow, and the documentarians decided to explore. They came across what appeared to be a gigantic snake, frozen and asleep. Camping out in the glacier, they thought they had made a miraculous discovery. Too bad it killed them. Not by any way you might expect though. These activists were taken off guard by the necrotic effects of the toxin excreted from this serpent's skin. It breathes the stuff too. So they all succumbed to the horrifying flesh-melting effects and were never heard from again. Now, the Foundation has eyes on the glacier and is monitoring it as best they can. There are 2 reasons for this. One is to keep any other adventurous iceberg seekers safe, and number 2 is to monitor the snake. If this thing wakes up, it's gonna cause a whole lot of damage. This thing is absolutely enormous to start with and could easily wreak havoc in nearby settlements. But then there's that toxin. If it starts breathing and secreting the stuff all over the place, it could kill an ungodly amount of people. So let's hope it stays sleeping in that ice, yeah? And finally, at number 1, we've got SCP-2082. Interestingly enough, we've already covered a couple SCPs today that seem to stem directly from this one. If an anomaly can make an area oddly cold, there's a good chance that it originated from 2082. As we know it, this SCP is an extinct subspecies of woolly mammoth, but it's so much more than just another type of animal lost to time. It is the origin of all sorts of anomalous cold. Wherever an instance of 2082 shows up, the area around it seems to drop to -10 degrees Celsius. The effects have a range of about 250 meters and move with the mammoth while continuing to affect areas that it was previously spotted. Once enough area has been converted to cold, a blizzard will start, kind of like the ones associated with 649. We shouldn't have to worry about this frigid freak causing any problems, seeing as it went extinct ages ago. But the Foundation never backs down from anything, and in this case that means they tried to clone it in order to study it. Bad call all around there, folks. The initial cloning test resulted in scorched frozen earth, with the research facility destroyed and all personnel involved deceased. A mammoth then walked free for a little while, spreading its frozen cheer wherever it went. Well, that is, until it died due to a heart malfunction thanks to the imperfect cloning process. Way to go, team. Ooh, anyone else just catch a chill? There are a surprising amount of winter-related SCPs out there. So what'd you think of the list? How many of these had you already heard of? Any additional icy anomalies you can think of? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more extravagant ones from the top 5 horror movie twists we all saw coming. Ryan Miller says, "The kid in the Sixth Sense. I see dead people. Me. Oh, so Bruce Willis's character is dead." It's crazy how they still managed to catch most people off guard with that though. Single Dad says, "A twist I saw coming from a mile away was the ending to Shutter Island." What, Leo didn't manage to bamboozle you? Frank S says, "Nobody saw the twist coming at the end of Pootie Tang, where we all realized it was the greatest movie of all time." Frank, you are the world's #1 Pootie Tang fan. How does it feel? Alana Zinger says, "Maple taffy after skiing." You know. And Broken Music Box says, "The Visit. The minute the news mentioned the 2 escaped psych patients, I leaned over to my best friend at the time and whispered, 'They're not the grandparents, they're the patients.' I had to walk home. She was so mad at the end." The classic throwaway detail foreshadowing. Always fun when you know what to look for. And that's all the time we have for today. I'm gonna go backwoods snowboarding on the lid of a trash can, and you can't stop me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Let's get going on our top 5 Winter SCP Monsters, part 2. You know, past the 8,000 meter death zone, where human acclimatization, you know, past the 8,000 meter, nope. I'm still, ever heard of a matchbox that causes snow? Well, me neither, but, and snowfall hits around 3 meters deep. I don't know how tall 3 meters is compared to me, like, we'll just say you can't see it. And if you were, turns out these little kids were leading away the D-Class who would We shouldn't have to worry about this frigid freak causing problems, seeing as it went So while under the influence of 1529